The key to a really good oven is balancing mass and insulation. So in this slideshow, I'm going to walk you through the construction of an oven I built for Cassie and Dave Van Domelen. They were opening a new restaurant in Amity, Oregon called the Blue Goat. Cassie had already built a little earth oven at home using the book, but when they decided to open a wood-fired restaurant, they asked me to help with the big oven. This is a 7-inch thick mud oven completely encased in nearly a foot of loose insulation that's all held in place by a basket. It all sits on a reinforced concrete slab and cinder block foundation. Dave's engineer father stamped the drawings and Dave did the prep, including setting wine bottles in wet concrete. My helper Rosalie and I surrounded the bottles with a thin cement stucco wall to make the bottom of our basket. Then, around the bottles, we poured many bags of loose perlite, which is a lightweight, fireproof material available at most masonry suppliers. You can also use vermiculite or pumice. I tamped it with bare feet because it really helps to use your toes to press the stuff down into the gaps between the bottles. But perlite is nasty to breathe, so wear a respirator. So if you've read Build Your Own Earth Oven, you already know about the bottles, but if not, they make insulative dead airspace, and they provide structural support for the oven above. On top of the bottles and perlite, for extra mass in the hearth, I bedded a double layer of 3.5-inch thick adobe bricks. The total thickness with the mud mortar was about 8 inches. On top of that went the floor bricks, level of course. And if you look close at the flat inner arch here, you'll see that the throat bricks are cut at an angle. That's to ease gas flow into the chimney. The principle here, called laminar flow, is really just a matter of rounding sharp edges, so smoke can flow smoothly up the chimney. In the 18th century, Count Rumford used it to modify thousands of smoky old fireplaces. They mostly sent warm air outside and smoke into the house. Just by rounding corners and making the fireplace shallower, Rumford designed a cleaner, warmer, more efficient heater. His design still works today. Anyway, here's Rosalie dipping our handmade bricks in a water glass solution. Water glass, or sodium silicate, is a high-temperature binder. By dipping the bricks, I hope to lengthen the life of the oven and reduce risk of spalling. At the inner base of the oven wall, I laid a protective bumper course of firebrick because that's the place that's most vulnerable to damage as the cook maneuvers wood and food with the peel. We made the bricks thin so we can lay each course at a slight angle. No formwork. Because they're half the weight, and because of the combined effect of angled courses and basic arch dynamics, they don't slide out of place, even, as here, at the end of the job when they're almost vertical. The brown color you see here is an extra couple of inches of heavy mix that we used to add mass to the thermal layer. It's about 7 inches thick total. After you're done laying the bricks, of course, you have to get in the oven to clean up the joints. Once the thermal layer is done, it's time to start weaving the basket. Here Rosalie pokes the first strips of split bamboo into the bottom layer of perlite. The basket itself doesn't need to be very tight because it all gets covered with gypsum-soaked burlap. In places, however, where the bamboo flexes, we did have to brace it to make sure we had the right spacing all around the thermal layer. The gypsum sets up in 20 minutes, making a quick, rigid shell that's strong enough to take a heavy coat of mud plaster. But before we could close the front door of the basket, I had to make the front arch and connect the chimney. Here's the open front of the shell with a connected chimney and a first fire. In addition to not needing any kind of form, whether of wood or of sand, brick means that you also have much less drying time as you don't have nearly so much water to drive out. Here's a series of detail shots showing the relief design on the finished oven, which I continued in panels on either side of the front door. I made the oven door from an old stainless steel medicine cabinet. I used cold chisels on the front panel to emboss Dave's goat design. And I did the same thing on the firing door. By the way, the firing door with its reduced air intake really helps increase the speed and turbulence of incoming air, which makes the fire burn much hotter and brighter. This is another insulation basket over an oven at Gathering Together Farm. They have a little restaurant in Philomath, Oregon, in front of the farm stand. JC is the chef at the farm restaurant. Lisa was the baker, and she helped a lot with the oven, but now she's working in the fields and milking cows. In addition to being one of the premier organic CSA farms in the Willamette Valley, they make great food. So it was a real honor when John and Sally Eveland asked me to build an oven for their farm. So those are a couple basket ovens. It's easy to do on a smaller scale for a home oven. I hope this helps, and I hope you'll come back to Handprint Press. We're trying to make the site more useful. Thanks. Bye.